busy with shit. Coffee, Kabbalah, Quran, Coffee, 10th of Savannah, 5786, Tuesday, May 26th. No one really knows for sure Elevate, Elo, Divrei, Elohim, Chaim, but this is the Mizor we live by. Thirty-seven 61 creation of the birth of Adam and Chava. 36 31 137 son of Adam is born. 35 26 235 Enosh son of Seth was born. 34 36 325 Kenan son of Enosh was born. 33 66 395 Mahalalel son of Kenan was born. 33 01 460 Yared son of Mahalalel was born. 31 39 622 Chanuk son of Yared was born. 30 74 687 Methuselah of Chan, son of Chanuk was born. 30 74 687 Methuselah, son of Chanuk was born. Everything sucks. Everybody knows that.
5-ring circus. I don't know. 5-ring circus. This is pretty cool. Let's get back into this, and let's start by just again, as we try to do every time. Let's just recap a little bit so we're on the same page. And that page, of course, here on the left is a picture from Sefer Razio Hamala, one of the most famous books of Jewish magic ever written. You're seeing two different pamayot, either amulets for various kinds of things written in angelic language. So if you ever want to know what the language of the angels looks like, there's two examples of angelic language being written out there. Now, what they say, I have no idea. You have to ask the angels. Write Michael at olamhabad.gov, and maybe he'll write you back. Doesn't seem to write me back. What we noticed last time about Jewish magic, and we did sort of a big romp through Jewish magic, is that Judaism and magic have had a very complicated, very long relationship. And I say very long relationship because, as I pointed out last time, the earliest document we have of the Torah is a magical amulet recovered from Jerusalem and the Kitzur tombs there, and written on silver. You can see it in the Israel Museum. So the very first documents we have of the Bible are magical amulets, probably. So if you want to say that Jews don't do magic, well, they must not do Torah too. So it's a non-starter. So they've had this very complicated, very tortured history of magic, where on the one hand, it's very clear that the Bible and the people that wrote the Hebrew Bible have a very uncomfortable relationship with magical practices for lots of reasons, theological reasons obviously included here, right? The idea that you can affect supernatural causation. If you can affect supernatural causation, then who needs a God? It kind of makes God redundant, right? God becomes like a thing that you really don't need. If you can make it rain, you can make yourself fall in love with people, or make people fall in love with you, or make pennies from heaven. Who needs a God when they can win the lottery on their own through magic? And at the same time, right, we see that Jewish magic has persisted all through the centuries. We see it again all the way back to Kitab Hinom and all the way down through now. And as I pointed out, right, when I say all the way down through now, my bottom point really obtains here. In the Haredi community and the community of ultra-Orthodox Jews, we see magical manuals still being published to this day. And also, of course, in the liberal Jewish world, there's an entire world of practicing Jewish witches. And other folks who identify as Kohenets, who are also very interested in things like astrology and magical practices. And so we see that Jewish magic has really thrived down through the ages, and unsurprisingly, it's mirrored local magical traditions. So we see that Jewish magic often looks a lot like the magic of the area that they're living in. So we see the same kinds of magic in the Greco-Egyptian period. We see Jewish magic being practiced in the Babylonian context with those cool incantation bowls. And then as we move through the Roman period and in the European period, we're going to see that Jewish magic will often borrow from the local cultures, but also influence those cultures as well. And that will be especially true in the European context, where Jewish magic has had a disproportionate impact on the development of European magic. That's why if you ever see those magical squares, most books of magic, European, non-Jewish books of magic, there's some Hebrew there, right? Well, it's not because they like Jews. They were perfectly happy to see Jews sent to whatever dreadful fate they were sent to. But they did it. The Jews had secret powers, magical powers, and they were perfectly happy to use them. As we saw, Jewish magic ran the gamut, right? It ran the gamut from curses, because everybody gets salty, right? Like, cursing people's like your thing, right? Divination, who doesn't want to know the future? Love magic, because who wants to go to sleep alone? But again, we should be careful, right? Love magic, consent is a value we have around here. And of course, love magic isn't about consent. We have grimoires, which are medieval Jewish spell books that contain a wide range of Jewish magical experiments. In fact, in medieval times, Al, you'll appreciate this, that the word experiment actually derives itself from the medieval Latin word for experimenta, which were magical spells. So the word experiment actually has its origin in the technical word for a magical operation. And the word experiment actually comes from that. So if you look at medieval magical manuals, they'll say an experiment for invisibility. And what's interesting, right, is that those invisibility spells that we would be tinkered with to try to make them work better or work at all. And so when modern science and so-called new science came along, they just adopted that language. And so it's interesting to see that, again, the boundary between magic and science early on is pretty vague sometimes. Somebody also says amulets, right? Amulets are devices used to call various kinds of, either to receive positive energy, perhaps from the stars, stellar influence, or repulse bad energy in the form of things like demons, shadim. So we see amulets. Astrological magic was also very popular. Sefer Razi al-Hamala, what you're looking at now on the screen, was a big part of angel magic, astrological magic. We have demon capturing bowls. We have the creation of living beings. We'll talk a lot about that tonight as we get into Sefer Yetzirah. The golem is probably the Jewish monster par excellence. I imagine most folks here have heard of the golem. Of course, that myth comes from the Sefer Yetzirah, which we'll talk about this evening at length. Of course, we also have angel summoning and the whole thing. So Jewish magic really ran the gamut. So again, what I really want to drive home about the process of Jewish magic is what I said last time, is that people who want to tell you that magic isn't Jewish and there's no such thing as Jewish magic, well, they got some archaeology to talk to, right? That's my basic argument. You can say that this is not a thing and that's not a thing. You can say it's not acceptable in your community, fine. But to tell me that Jews didn't do it for 3,000 years, you're just badly informed. I don't know what else to tell you. The scientific archaeological paleographic data tells me that you're wrong. And if you want to just sort of put your fingers in the air and go la 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 la, Jews didn't do this, well, have fun being wrong, because it's very clear that Jews did. So now again, whether your community accepts it, whether you go to Oak Park over there and whether they are okay with it, or Borough Park, or you go to Crown Heights and see if they practice magic, I don't know. But probably, again, Menachem down the street, he's up 12 in the night, in the middle of the night doing some weird stuff. He might be up to some magic, right? And he wouldn't be that weird. And if you think about this from a historical perspective, but the fact that there are magicians, sorcerers operating in Jewish communities all over the world through history, any community that doesn't have one is probably the weirdo community. That's probably the weirdo community. The one that doesn't have one, right? The much more likely outcome is they do. So Jewish magic has been here, it will be here, it's not going to go away. And by the way, this is true of magic in general. Magic is more popular now than ever before. Right? So for better or worse, it's here. So tonight, we're going to do it, folks. We're going to get into the very first vestiges, the very first layer stratum of the Kabbalah. So we're going to do it, right? We're talking about this distinction between Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah. We're not going to hit that. We're going to begin to get into the world of Kabbalah. But to do that, we have to introduce things a little bit from a philosophical angle. And that's because while people often think of Kabbalah as a kind of mysticism, and people think of mysticism as somehow opposed to science or opposed to philosophy, those kinds of oppositions just did not exist in the late classical world, and they certainly didn't exist in the Middle Ages. So we have to loosen up our categories a little bit here, right? Because we often think of these things existing in opposites, right? Science doesn't like mysticism doesn't like philosophy and science can't really get along. And so they're all fighting, and this is the way this is our world, right? It's not theirs. Their world is a much different world than ours. And the first thing you have to do is kind of, take your modernity hat off and put a different hat on, whatever that hat is, or wig or whatever. And so we have to understand that in the late classical world, the relationship between philosophy, mysticism, magic, religion was very complicated and very mixed together, right? So drawing a line between one of these and the other of these is just really not possible. And so what we have to understand is that Judaism has always had a very weird relationship with the outside world. Always very weird relationship, right? Because on the one hand, Jews want to maintain their cultural, religious distinctiveness. And on the other hand, well, the outside world's kind of cool. They got Greek science, and they got like TV, and they got Xbox, and all this stuff, right? So there's all kinds of things about the outside world that you want to admit is cool, and yet at the same time, we don't want to. The bad A word. You know what the bad A word is? Assimilate. Assimilate, right? This is the bad A word, right? So there's this idea that Jews do not want to assimilate, but they always have to some degree. And even when they don't, that non-assimilation is actually a response to assimilation, right? You're never outside that logic. So deal with the relationship between ancient, late classical Jews and Greek science. Because the Greeks had a lot of stuff figured out, folks. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, whether they were right or not, and I don't think they were. The Greek model of the world was a far better model of the world. It explained, at least at some level, why the planets did what they did, right? Greek science, Greek math, right? I don't know if folks here have ever done a geometry class, right? But when you prove to yourself that Pythagorean theorem is true, it's magical. It's magical. When you see mathematical proof of something, you're like, damn, that's really true. That's for real true. Not like I made it up, like I had a fever dream about it being true, whatever. That's true. And it can't be otherwise. The Greeks pioneered a lot of the stuff. Now, it's not to say the Greeks invented everything, right? The Pythagorean theorem has been known by the Babylonians in the form of what are called Pythagorean triplets well before Pythagoras, right? And Pythagoras leaned heavily on the Egyptians for a lot of his mathematical knowledge. As you might imagine, the Egyptians knew a thing or two about triangles. So, again, the Greeks had things going on, right? And the Greeks were the big pioneers on what we might now recognize as something like empirical science or theoretical science. Now, what's really important about this is, right, Jews have always had a sort of touch-pull relationship with Greek science. But what increasingly begins to happen is that Jewish philosophy begins to be deeply influenced by two distinct forms of Greek philosophy. Now, these two forms of Greek philosophy, we have names for them now, right? We call them Neo-Pythagoreanism and Neoplatonism. Now, I'm going to do a lot more Neoplatonism next time when we get into Kabbalah proper. But tonight, what I really want to focus on is a school of Greek philosophy that we now call Neo-Pythagoreanism. Now, you can imagine how many Greeks called their philosophy Neo-Pythagoreanism. The answer is exactly zero. No Greeks called their school that, right? Everyone just thought they were being philosophers. But there are two things that are really important about what we now call Neo-Pythagoreanism, right? And don't be put off by the name. It's one of these $4 words to make philosophers sound smart. Basically, what we're talking about here is two things. One thing we're talking about here is the influence of Pythagorean philosophy. And Pythagorean philosophy is the same philosophy that any string theorist probably will believe in today, and that is the world is fundamentally mathematical, right? Not describable in terms of math, but math. The world is mathematical, right? And so that's the main thing, right? That the structure of reality, fundamental structure of reality is mathematical in nature. Again, this idea probably is more popular now in some forms of contemporary physics than it ever has been. The second thing that's worth noting about this is that for the Neo-Pythagoreans, the union with God was possible. One could be like God, right? God, singular God, right? Because the Pythagoreans are all about like everything going back to one, right? And so they really thought that fundamentally things were basically one. And so the idea was you could be like that too. You could unite your consciousness. You could unite your being. You could unite your nous with the divine. And as you can imagine, those two ideas are going to be part and parcel of a great deal of what becomes mysticism in the ancient world and, of course, in the modern world as well. By the way, what the image you're seeing on the screen here is an image from a Pythagorean or Neo-Pythagorean basilica that was actually discovered in the 18th century in Rome. It's recently been reopened. I've always wanted to go there. It's perfectly preserved. This is where Neo-Pythagoreans hung out in Rome. It's basically completely preserved. It was only discovered on accident. And so it's really neat that you can go into these places where these guys were like hanging out, talking about numbers and stuff. And it's actually preserved in Rome. I think they allow a very small amount of people to go in there. So next time I go to Rome, I'm going to try to be one of those very small group of people. So let's combine that, right? Let's think of this idea with some ideas from Judaism. Now, Judaism, as you probably know from the book of Genesis in the Bible, or Reshit, that the way that God makes the world in Jewish lore and Jewish mythology and Israelite mythology is that God speaks the world into being. That the existence is a speech act, right? God says, Yehi or, let there be light, and Vayehi or, there was light. The very act of speech causes being to come into existence. And thus, right, if God speaks Hebrew, which of course Israelites thought, Jews think that God does, that's the language of God. In fact, that's what we call Hebrew Lashon Kodesh, right? Lashon Kodesh, that it is holy language. Then the very reality of Hebrew is that Hebrew itself has magical power. It's the case that the language itself is special. It's metaphysically powerful. It's quasi-divine. Because if God speaks it, then it can't be just a bunch of random sounds, right? We make random sounds, dog, right, or whatever, right? We think of sounds as being random, but God's speech isn't random. God's speech is the opposite of random. It's ordering. Because in the ancient Israelite imagination, remember back from the first talk, that part of what goes on in the ancient Israelite mind and worldview is that God is ordering the world out of chaos. For the ancient Israelites, it's chaos versus order. So what does God's speech do? It orders the universe. And this is unsurprising, right? Because grammar, if you've ever studied some grammar, if you've been tortured by some grammar, you know the thing that's torturous about grammar is that it's orderly. And that's what's hard about it. It's about learning the patterns and learning when there's exceptions to the patterns, so why there are exceptions to patterns. It's orderly. And so language as an act of order is how God created the world. There was nothing, tohu vohu, chaos, and then God spoke, and it ordered it. So Hebrew has this kind of power. You see this very early on in Israelite, you might call it linguistics or ontology or metaphysical language. But there are two ways in which this plays itself out. The first, of course, is that language is magical. This is unsurprising, right? If you imagine a sorcerer, the one thing every child knows about what sorcerers say, right, is abracadabra. Well, you might think that's just nonsense gibberish, but it's not. It's Aramaic. Abracadabra literally means in Aramaic something like, I create as I speak. Now, think about that for a minute, right? Abracadabra, I create as I speak. Well, if a magician is uttering that, who are they imitating? God. Because God creates the speech. So on the one hand, we have language is magical. You can do magic with language. We've already seen that with Hebrew being used in all its magical practices. But if you can speak that magical language, it's not just that you can do magical powers. You have magical powers. You're also imitatio Dei, imitating God. You're being as if a God, right? Because God can do it through language. Well, if God speaks that language and you speak that language, you are kind of being quasi-divine. And so, if insofar as one can speak that language and conjure things into being, you can imitate God, but also you can become unified with God. Because in the same way that God creates through speech, you create through speech, you you are imitating and being like God. This is the theological equivalent of fake it till you make it. Right, folks? This is you becoming united with God by acting like God. And by acting like God, one becomes unified with God. So you can see how this circuit is being closed, right? And how the role of Hebrew in Israelite theology and the role of Hebrew in the action of doing sort of mystical stuff, right, allows one to engage in this mystically powerful language. The image here to the left that you're seeing is from Abraham Abulafia, founder of the prophetic Kabbalah, who we'll get to in a couple of weeks. These are meditation wheels by which one can, in fact, change one's consciousness by, and by changing one's consciousness, I mean, elevate one's consciousness to be unified with God via prophecy by meditating on specific words in the Hebrew alphabet from manuscript of Abraham Abulafia, not written by him, but of one of his texts. We'll get to him in a couple of weeks. The first time we see this idea of imitating God by using language to create things is in the Babylonian Talmud. And this gets back to Al's point, right, where Al commented that on the one hand we have the rabbis and everyone else. Well, here's where I want to disrupt that, because in the Babylonian Talmud we have the rabbis doing the exact same, the thing that you said they didn't do, right? You wanted to draw a line, and here's where I'm saying the line can't be drawn. So we have in the Babylonian Talmud in two different stories, which are probably mirroring each other, but being told by two different rabbis. In Tractate Sanhedrin, where we have both Abaya and Rabbah, two very prominent rabbis, discussing death penalty cases, right? So the Tractate Sanhedrin, as you may know from Babylonian Talmud, is all about death penalty cases. And one of the things that is a death penalty case is sorcery, kishuf. You're not allowed to practice sorcery. And so what is constitutive of sorcery, right? So they say there's all kinds of things that are constitutive of sorcery, right? But creating illusions isn't. You're allowed to create illusions. This is the rabbinical idea that you can do stage magic. In fact, kishuf, I think in modern Hebrew, actually indicates stage magic. Right? What is allowed? This is positively mind-boggling. Right? Such was formed by Rabbi Zina and Rabbi Shaya, who spent every Shabbos Eve in studying Hilchot Yetzirah. We'll talk about what this is in just a minute. By means of which they created a third grown calf and ate it. So they studied Hilchot Yetzirah, right? This literally means the doing of the Yetzirah, right? So if you want to have a book about the laws, like Hilchot Shabbat is how to practice Shabbat. It's the laws of Shabbat. Hilchot Yetzirah is the laws of formation, how you make something. Well, what did they do? They studied it, and on the eve of on Erev Shabbos, on the Shabbat Eve, they created a third grown calf and they ate it for Shabbat. They made a calf. They made one. Rabbah said, and this is even more dramatic, Rabbah said that if the righteous desired it, they could create a world. Now, this translation is hiding something. This is the translation from Sefaria, but the actual translation in the Aramaic says they could create a world just like God. They can create an olam. Now that is positively mind-blowing. That if you were righteous, you could create a world, right? But you have inequity, so you can't. Now, Rabbah created a man, right, and sent him to Rabbi Zerah. And Rabbi Zerah said to him, right, spoke to him and said, he received no answer, right? He was mute. And thereafter he said, you're a creature of the magicians. Actually, in Hebrew, Aramaic rather, it says, you're one of the company, right? Like, you're one of those guys, right? It's in Hebrew and Aramaic. It says, go back to the dust, right? And Rabbi Hanina and Rabbi Shah said, also spent studying Sefer Yetzirah, by means of which they created a third row path, and they gave it. So in the Babylonian Talmud, again, the central work of rabbinical Judaism. There is no more important book in rabbinical Judaism than Babylonian Talmud. We have rabbis making people, making calves. So the distinction between what's magic and what's orthodox at this point has to be completely breaking down. Because I don't know about you, if I made a person, right, from dust and then sent them to you, you're going to be like, well, if it ain't magic, it'll do it till magic gets here. Damn. Like, again, if making people ain't magic, I don't know what is. So what we have in Babylonian Talmud is the idea that somehow they're studying some book, some text, and creating people. Now again, the person's mute. There's no doubt about the fact that it's not a perfect person. They're mute, right? Which would have been thought of as a disability in the ancient world. Again, ancient ableism aside. What we have here is an image of creation by some kind of study. Further at ViralRabbi 55 base, we have the idea that Bezalel was chosen by God to be the architect of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. Why? Because Bezalel, and I have the story not because my Hebrew name is Bezalel, but because it's a great story, but because Bezalel knew how to join the letters by which heaven and earth were created. So again, listen to that in the Babylonian Talmud at ViralRabbi 55 base, that Bezalel was chosen because he understood how to combine the letters by which heaven and earth were created. So already by the Talmud, we have the idea that the heavens and the earth were created, the cosmos were created by the combination of letters. And here again at Tractate Sanhedrin 67-65 base, we have the idea that you can create if you are righteous. If you are righteous. I'm not that righteous, thank God. Now, what's this text? Right? What's this text? Sefer Yetzirah is, without a doubt, the most enigmatic and important book of Jewish mysticism prior to the Kabbalah. There is no more important book prior to the rise of the Kabbalah in terms of Jewish mysticism than Sefer Yetzirah. I'll go on to say also later, Sefer Yetzirah is canonical. It's scripture now. In the Orthodox world, you can make arguments based on it. It is a kind of Jewish scripture. We're not like the Christians. The Christian canon is basically closed. The Muslim canon is definitely closed, right? The Jewish canon kind of is open. Stuff gets in, right? And from community to community, right? Things get in. And Sefer Yetzirah has certainly got in. I would consider it to be part of the Jewish canon, right along with the Bible and with the Bible and the Talmud and the Sefer Zohar, etc. What is it? What is the Sefer Yetzirah? It is a text produced sometime between 500 and 1,000 of the Common Era. It's very brief. It's only about 2,000 words long. And it's a speculative text describing the method by which God created the cosmos, or the Olam. I'm going to use the word Olam because I prefer to use cosmos. I think it has connotations that are a little bit maybe too modern. And when I say Olam would include all of the physical world we now know of, described by the standard model of particle physics with 25 particles and 4 forces. But the Olam is a much bigger angle about what that would include angels and demons and all kinds of cool stuff. So at any rate, the Sefer Yetzirah describes in very, very brief words, right? There are only about 2,000 words on an average recension. We can talk about recensions later. There are 3 or 4 different recensions of the Sefer Yetzirah that have come down to us, and there's a debate about how they came down to us. But what we have is a book describing how the world was created, attributed to none less than the patriarch Abraham. Why Abraham? Because there is a line in Genesis where it said Abraham made souls, right? That Abraham created souls. And the idea is that because Abraham could create souls, the only way he could have done that is if he had access to Sefer Yetzirah, and therefore that is proof for the traditional community at least that because Abraham could create souls, that he was also in command of the Sefer Yetzirah. Now, when was this book written down? The shorter answer is we have no idea. We just don't know. Sometime before 1000 of the Common Era, right? Now, the debate goes that sometime between the 2nd century and the 11th century. Yeah, 800 years or something. We don't know. It's very difficult to figure out when this book was written down. I tend to agree with Zahi Weiss, who I'll have his name and his book in the recommended readings at the end of the lecture tonight. I tend to agree with Zahi Weiss that it was produced in the 7th century, maybe the 8th century, but it doesn't really matter for the purpose of this class. We're not going to get into the weeds about when it was written down. However, you may be interested in when it was published. Here on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the first edition of Sefer Yetzirah published in Mantua, I think 1562. I could be wrong about that, but I think it was in 1562 that was published in Mantua. But we have a first edition copy here. One of these copies, by the way, sells for about $60,000. So if you have $60,000 lying around, you want to buy me a gift, feel free to pick me up a copy of the Mantua edition of the Sefer Yetzirah. So, what is the Sefer Yetzirah? As I said, right, it's a book describing how God made the world. Now, what's also important about the Sefer Yetzirah is it is the first time we hear the word Sephirot. Now, this is a word that, for folks familiar with Kabbalah, this is a word you probably have heard before, right? Sephirot is one of these words that is a mainstay in the world of Kabbalah. Now, there are two things that are important about this word Sephirot. The first thing that's important about this word is that no one knows what it means, right? The root of the word, the shortish of the word is SFR, which in typical language Hebrew means to count, right? It just means to count. Now, if you want to make a noun out of that, right? Typically the noun would be mispar, and mispar actually does mean number. That's the Hebrew word for number. Mispar, misparim, right? It's a word for number. Well, the writer of this text doesn't go that route. They invent a new word that we've never seen before, and that new word they invent is Sephirot. Now, what they do is they take the word sphira and they add an ot to it, a feminine plural ending, and so we know it's in plural. What makes this word even more weird is that it's always accompanied in the Sefer Yetzirah with the term belima, the adjective belima. Now, the word belima only occurs once in the entire Hebrew Bible. It's a lapax legimenon, which means it only occurs once. And it's weird. Well, we know that beli, right, means without, and ma means what. And so it seems to mean without what. Now, what we have is a word made up, sephirot, which kind of means number, and without what. So literally we can translate it as number without what. Now, if you put that into the actual text, it makes no sense. Whatever the author's trying to do here, whatever they're trying to describe, a literal reading of it doesn't make sense. So, what are the Sephirot Belima? What do we mean by the Sephirot the first time they appear in all of Jewish literature and all the history of Jewish mysticism? Well, the one thing that we know from Sefer Yetzirah is they are not divine emanations. Now, I know that for folks who are familiar with some Kabbalah, right, you've seen the tree of life, right, with the dots, right? And God goes from Keter to Chokmah, Bina, Gevurah, now Malchut, right? 10 things. We'll get to that later, right? And that's the tree of life. Those are the Sephirot. Well, in the Sefer Yetzirah, it's not that. Whatever it is, it's not that. They are not divine emanations. We'll get there tonight. In a minute. They're not that. What are they? No one knows. No one knows. The going guess, and I say guess, right, because I really do mean guess. The going guess is that this is being influenced by Neo-Pythagoreanism, right? Neo-Pythagoreanism. Remember, Neo-Pythagoreanism, mouthful, is all about this number stuff, right? Remember, it's all about number being a reality. Well, one of the things we know about Pythagoreanism is that one of their sacred symbols was this thing called the tetrachus. You're seeing it on the screen here to the left. The idea of the tetrachus, right, is the idea that from one monad can give rise to two monads, right, plus, right? So these 2 plus 1 give rise to 30, and these 3 plus 1 give rise to 4. If you add all this together, right, you get a base 10 counting system. And from a base 10 counting system, you have basically the origins of the number system, and then from there you have the origins of arithmetic, etc., etc. It's a geometric way of describing how numericality itself comes into existence. Now, I know that sounds really abstract. And that's because it's really abstract, right? But we know this from the Pythagorean world, right? That they also thought there were 10 of these, right? There are 10 of these tetrachus, right? The tetrachus is a 10-node system. Well, guess what we know about the Sephirot Belima? There are 10. And the text is really clear in the Sefer Yetzirah. 10, not 9, 10, not 11. Exactly 10. I think, that what the Sephirot mean are the basic structure of a decimal counting system. That what we have here is a decimal counting system. Why? Right? Because the symbol of 10 represents completeness in the Pythagorean system, and 2, the Sephirot are also always described in relationship to the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. So for the Sefer Yetzirah, the world's created by 2 things, 3 things. God, obviously, right? Using the 10 Sefirot and the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, combine them together, creates everything else. So you have, well, you imagine it, right? What do you have? You have all the numbers, all the letters, combine all the numbers and letters together, and you get a universe. One can imagine that the 10 Sephirot are the 10 countable things of the base 10 system of counting, plus the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. They are the palette by which God painted the world into existence. So in Sefer Yetzirah, they are not emanations of God. They are numerical structures, which when combined with the alphabet, are the substructure of reality. Language and math, right? I think that's what's going on in Sefer Yetzirah. Now, if you go ask someone else, they'll give you another story. They'll give you another story, right? I think that's what's going on. And I think that I base that upon read other Neo-Pythagorean literature, they make the exact same argument, right? So I think that's what's going on here. Now, what we get in Sefer Yetzirah is a description of several successive stages the universe went through, right? Just like we tell the story now, right? We have the Big Bang, the period of inflation, right? And then we have the world that we have it now, and eventually we'll have the black hole period and proton decay or whatever. Right? There are successive stages of the universe. Sefer Yetzirah also describes successive stages of the universe, how they come into being. Now, we can't get into the weeds of all that tonight. We just don't have enough time to do all of that. We could spend an entire 8 weeks just on Sefer Yetzirah. But what's really important is that the mature part of the universe, right? The mature part of the Olam is governed by what the Sefer Yetzirah calls Ketzivot. Ketzivot are limits, right? Limits, they're extremities. Again, that, by the way, limits, extremities, is Pythagorean language. They're translating this Pythagorean language, in my opinion, into Hebrew. And Ketzivot are these kind of limits. Now, what do those limits look like, right? Well, there are fundamentally 3 dimensions, right? 3 dimensions. Well, I say 3 dimensions, right? There's actually like 6 dimensions, but this is what they are, right? So we have 2 dimensions of time, beginning and ending. We have 2 dimensions of space, right? Or 2 dimensions of, so 2 dimensions of time, 2 dimensions of space, above and below, and those include the 4 cardinal directions. So above and below, right, are the cardinal directions, and then in those they split off into the other directions. And then along with the 2 dimensions of time, beginning and ending, and the 2 dimensions of space, there are also 2 moral dimensions, right, good and evil. This is a pretty interesting way of thinking about reality for this time period. And again, I think that someone with a background in physics, like Al, can appreciate, right? That they're already imagining reality as having dimensionality. There are these mathematical ways of understanding the nature of reality that are describable abstractly as what we might call dimensions, what they call Ketzivot, or limits, or extremities. This is followed by a very intense and very somewhat strange analysis, and yet still scientific, of the Hebrew alphabet itself, in which the writer of this text groups the Hebrew letters into 3 groups based on the articulation of the points of the mouth. So when you make a mem sound, it's a ma, it's using your lips, labials. Right, when you make a dalet sound, it's a da, dentals. When you make an aleph sound, right, a ayin sound, right, those are gutturals, right, those are articulated at different points. And so it's a kind of quasi-primitive, right, when I say primitive, I don't mean backwards, but I mean ancient form of linguistic analysis, right? So they're analyzing language in terms of where these things get articulated in the face, the mouth. And then finally what happens is the letters are all set into a correspondence. And the way that the writer of Sefer Yetzirah imagines the cosmos, right, or reality, is it really has 3 layers. There's the Olam, right, the whole big Megillah, right? There's time. Time is the movement of the Olam, right? And there's the human being. And the human being is the center of it, right? Because they are something that exists and they are moving through time. And so the human being, the nefesh, the soul, right, is the nexus of the cosmos and time, right? And so they understand this. So what you get in the Sefer Yetzirah is a very very involved system in which letters are assigned to members of the zodiac, right? Shana, time, right? And then also letters are combined to describe the cosmos, right? Various parts of the cosmos, and they also describe various parts of your body. So your liver, your heart, your head, your eyes are set into correspondence with the various letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Because again, God spoke the world into being, and when God said ayin, right? Folks know this, right? The word ayin. Ayin is a Hebrew letter, and guess what ayin means? Eyes, right? God's not joshing around here, folks. When God said ayin, eyes came into existence. And what is sight? What does sight see? It sees light, right? So we get this system of correspondence. So the Sefer Yetzirah is a very rigorous, scientific, philosophical, metaphysical analysis of how reality came into being. There have been several different periods of time. I just want to talk a little bit about those periods of time got worked themselves out, right? So we have a few different periods of time in the development of Sefer Yetzirah, right? The earliest period of time is when it developed. And the truth of the matter is, we don't know anything about that time. We don't know exactly when and how it was developed. We think it was probably in kind of a Gnostic, theurgical, magical Greek Syriac world, but it's anyone's guess. The first time we see the Sefer Yetzirah emerge is in philosophical scientific commentaries of the 10th century, right? The 10th through the 12th century, the leading Jewish minds at the time spent time writing commentaries on Sefer Yetzirah. And they did it to try to show how this accurately describes the fundamental structure of reality. Now, again, when the Sadia Gaon, just to give an example, right? Sadia Gaon writes commentary on this. If the Sadia Gaon, the leading authority in all of the Jewish world at the time, feels the need to write a commentary on this, well, by God, that's scripture, right? If he takes it seriously, you bet your ass you're going to take it seriously, right? And it's not just him. It's Danilo, it's all kinds of people. Barzilai, lots of people. So we have these scientific commentaries of the 10th through the 12th century. And then the book becomes magicalized. Because if it describes how God made the world, and if righteous people can make their own worlds, then this might be a roadmap to making our own stuff. And so it enters into its magical period, specifically in Europe with the Fasi Ashkenaz in the 11th and 13th century, right? And then eventually it's synthesized into the Kabbalah in the 13th century, and eventually it makes its way into modernity. We'll get into a little bit more of this other, more recent stuff in a bit. Now, of course, the Sefer Yetzirah is most heavily associated at the level of magic with the golem. I'm sure most folks here have heard of the golem. I spent a lot of time talking about the golem. But the golem, of course, is an artificial humanoid made from clay animated by magical means, specifically by techniques found in the Sefer Yetzirah. The earliest descriptions for the production of a golem are found primarily in the 12th century in the commentary on the Sefer Yetzirah written by Eliezer Verms, a German Ashkenazi rabbi. And he writes how to create a golem using various kinds of magical techniques, meditation techniques primarily, combining letters with vowels over and over and over again in a form of mystical meditation. And one can transform clay into a human being through these mystical meditations. And so the golem becomes this sort of artificial human. By the way, the word golem actually does appear in the Hebrew Bible once, I think, to describe an unformed fetus. It's actually sort of the word for fetus in the Hebrew Bible. It's an entity that's not quite human and not quite not human. It's somewhere in between. That's why, by the way, in the Hebrew Bible, that if you kill someone, you're subject to the death penalty. But if in the middle of a fight, a man hits a woman who's pregnant and it calls her to miscarry, he's not subject to the death penalty. Because the thing inside her is a golem, not a person, right? So the rabbis are actually very clear about what's a person, what's not. For them, unborn people, right, unborn entities are golems, not people. That's why there's no death penalty case in that matter. Which is something I think is weird. I don't know why more fundamentalist Christians and people don't really... They're all about read the Bible, we'll read the damn thing. Yeah, yeah, be about it. Don't talk about it. Be about it. Read the damn thing. So at any rate, the golem, right, is how this idea came about, right? Because if God can make things and I can make things, well, I can use speech to make things too, and the golem becomes the quintessential legend for this. Now, you probably heard the golem of Prague, just as a myth-busting thing to ruin your night. The golem of Prague was invented by a 19th century German writer, non-Jewish German writer, and ascribed the whole idea to the Maharal of Prague. The Maharal of Prague never made a golem. There was no golem legends prior to the 19th century in Prague. Now, don't go shouting that very loudly if you go to Prague, because they'll throw you out of a window. That's Prague hospitality. Because they make a lot of money on tourism, on the whole golem thing. But the Maharal of Prague never made a golem. Never was interested in golems. If you read the Maharal of Prague's actual writing, he would have been very opposed to things like that. He was a pretty 10 and 2 by the book kind of legalist, actually. So that entire legend was invented in some ways by a whole cloth. Although the Golem movie is very important, what's also interesting about the Golem movie, I'll just mention here just briefly, is that the Golem movie as we have it is actually a prequel. It's a prequel. The original Golem movie and the sequel have both been lost. They're lost movies, sadly. So if you ever go see the Golem movie that we have is a prequel to a movie that's been lost. And the sequel, which we also know was made, has also been lost. Two of these movies that, a lot of, as you may know, a lot of film back in the day was printed on things like nitrocellulose or whatever, like really, really combustible film. And, even a spark could burn the whole thing down. And so a lot of these movies were lost. So if you ever see the Golem, just know that you're watching a prequel to a movie that was very popular that's been lost now. The invention of an artificial humanoid. And further, the last thing I'll say about Sefer Yetzirah is that dozens of commentaries on this little book have been written in the century since it's been written. Sefer Yetzirah is probably the single most commented book after the Bible I should be careful what I say about that. There are dozens of commentaries, I will say that, on Sefer Yetzirah, and Standard Edition has at least 12 commentaries attached to it. And so the Sefer Yetzirah in the traditional Jewish world is a highly, highly, highly commented upon book, and it is in fact, to this day, I think would say it is a canonical book of Jewish scripture. As we get into Europe, in the world of the Ashkenaz, and we're going to run a little over tonight, but I think it's okay. I won't try to go too far over. As we get into Europe, we get into the world of the Ashkenaz. We've been in the Middle East for a while, right? We've been in ancient Israel, ancient Palestine. We've been in the ancient Egypt. We've been in ancient Mesopotamia. The focus begins to shift beginning in the period of the 10th and 11th centuries. That has a lot to do with what's going on in the Middle East with things like the Mongol invasions and some kind of crackdowns, at least at some level, in terms of things get a little stricter in the Islamic world. And so the intellectual centers begin to shift to traditional Jewish parts of the world in Europe, Ashkenaz being one of them. Now, people have these bizarre ideas that all of European Jews are descendants of Khazars that converted in the 9th century or something, and that all European Jews are not really Jews, but all that kind of bizarre anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Jews have been in Europe for thousands of years, right? Because Jews have been traveling with the Romans the entire time, and wherever the Romans established trade places, Jews went. Lots of people went. Greeks went, right? People forget Massalia, Marseille, on the very south coast of France, was a Greek colony, right? Set there to do trade. So trade and movement of populations has happened all through the Roman world. People forget that one of the capitals of the Roman Empire was Trier in Germany, right? That blows people's mind, but Constantine the Great was born in Trier, in what is now Germany, this birthplace of Karl Marx, of all people. So Jews have been in Europe for centuries. Now, what goes online, right, is that beginning in this period, right, Jews come to the forefront of learning other kinds of things, not just trade. And in Ashkenaz, around the turn of the millennium, maybe a couple hundred years after the turn of the millennium of 1000 Common Era, we have a very weird esoteric theology developed that is called the unique cherub circle. And the unique cherub circle introduced the idea that God and the world can't be directly connected. Why? Well, it's simple philosophy. If God is infinite and the world is finite, then the distance between the infinite and the finite is always going to be infinite. That's a theological problem. So what do? You need something to link the worlds. You need a bridge, something that's quasi-finite and something that's kind of finite, like quasi-infinite. And what they introduced was the idea of ha'atzalah, right? Ha'atzalah, that God flows out of God's self, and somehow the flowing out of God's self bridges the gap between the infinite God and the finite world. And the thing that bridges the gap for this group of people was a thing called the unique cherub, right? The cherub is a kind of angel, as you probably know. And this unique cherub bore the glory of God. That God's glory had a hidden inner glory, right? Right, it's like imagine the inside of the sun, right? The inside of the sun is full of like energy and intensity, but we never see it. What do we see in the sun? We see the outside layer, right? We see the outer glory. And the outer glory, right, of God, the outer kavod, flows out and becomes a kind of special angel, a unique cherub. And that special angel is an atzalah, is an emanation of flowing out of God, right? And that bridges the gap between the infinite and the finite with the unique cherub in the middle. Now, we don't know much about this group, right? This is a very strange group of rabbis there in Ashkenaz, in Germany, and we're still doing research about them. But it seems like they've been introduced to the idea of Neoplatonism, and we'll talk about Neoplatonism next time, right? We'll talk about it at length. Now, what ends up happening is that infused with this idea of ha'atzalah, of emanation, the Sefer Yetzirah gets fused to it. So the idea is, well, it can't just be one thing, right? Maybe it's 10. Maybe there are 10 things standing between the infinite, utter transcendent God and us. And maybe between those things, there are 10 things. Because Sefer Yetzirah says there are 10. 10 Sephirot Belimah, right? So maybe the ladder has 10 rungs. Maybe the ladder has 10 rungs. And that idea of the ladder having 10 rungs is taken up in the first Kabbalistic text in history, the Sefer Bahir. This is, folks, the first text of Kabbalah. If you want to start studying Kabbalah, this is the text you start with, the Sefer Bahir. This is the first version that we see here on the left-hand side. This is a midrash, right? Midrashim are texts in which the Bible is used as a stepping stone, or diving board, better, right? To riff, right? Like, folks here like jazz, right? If you like jazz, right? One of the things that you go to a jazz show, right? You know, Coltrane might start a riff, right? And then Monk might pick up, right? With the drums. And then someone else is going to pick up, right? And then they're going to riff, and they're going to riff, and they're going to riff, and a riff. Variation on the theme, right? If you want to think about what Midrash is Jewish jazz. It's taking a riff and going with it, right? Commenting on it, legends, weird stuff, strange ideas, right? Don't read this, read that. You know, turn the letters around backwards, read them that way, right? It's riffing, right? It's improvisation on these ideas. Midrash is Jewish jazz, right? So, what we get in the Sefer Bahir is a work of Jewish jazz, midrash, very popular in the Middle Ages, right? But this Jewish midrash is really interesting for a couple of reasons. One is because it's ascribed to a first century Jewish scholar, Nehunya ben Akana. Now, Nehunya ben Akana didn't write this, but it's ascribed to him to kind of give it a little gravitas. Further, what's also really important about this is it's very clear that whoever wrote this is doing some really, really interesting theological, philosophical mysticism. They're riffing on this material, on the Bible, in a way we've never seen before. Now, did they make it all up? Were they part of a larger tradition? Was there a community of people doing this? This is just the one work that survived? We don't know, right? But what we do know is this text introduces the core concepts that become the foundation for the Kabbalah as we know it. Now, these midrashim inside of, there are 200 of these inside of the Sefer Bahir. They are not united, and you need to stretch the imagination. In fact, the story goes right is that the writer must have written them all down, and then the story is they threw them into the air, and ever how they landed, that's how they got edited together. The editing seems random, right? Now, there are passages that do seem contiguous, and then they kind of titter off into seemingly random commentaries. But there are a couple things that are very crucially important about Sefer Bahir. The first thing that's really crucially important is Sefer Bahir combines Sefer Yetzirah in the Union Cherub Circle. The Sefer Bahir says there are emanations of God, right? There is again, I heard folks ever like boiled milk, right? Or like it's a bit better. Yeah, you ever seen like go to a wedding where someone's pouring champagne over like one glass, and one glass sits on like two glasses, and two glasses sit on four glasses, right? They're pouring the champagne, and the champagne flows down on the glasses. Well, imagine like pouring the champagne, the bottle never got empty, right? That's what the Sephirot are. It's God pouring God's self out, but because God is infinite, God never becomes empty, and the world becomes full, right? That's what the emanations are. So Sefer Bahir does two really important things in this respect. It combines the 10 Sephirot of the Sefer Yetzirah with the idea of emanations. And it says, yes, God emanated distinct forms, 10 distinct emanations, and it discusses them at length. Now, Kabbalah, as you probably know it, as everyone knows it, if there's nothing else that makes Kabbalah Kabbalah, it's that. There are 10 emanations. They relate to each other. So there are various aspects of God. God's mercy, God's judgment, God's glory, God's victory, God's beauty. Right? That's a core component of Kabbalah. We'll start getting to that stuff next time. Right? So that's the one thing, a very important thing that Sefer Bahir does. It combines those two ideas into one system for the first time. Secondly, right, what Sefer Bahir does is it introduces the idea that God has a feminine form, the Shekhinah, right? Now, the idea of the Shekhinah goes all the way back to the Talmud, right? But never does God have a feminine form. It's just that the word Shekhinah is feminine grammar-wise. But in the Bahir, the Shekhinah is described as a lady, almost always in the same kind of language being used to describe other women in the medieval period. She's actually described as a matronita, right? It's a Latin term that becomes an important term in medieval courtly lore. So God's presence in the world becomes feminized. Again, if you know nothing else about Kabbalah, you know that the Shekhinah is the feminine presence of God in the world. Lechadodi. Every time you've ever been to a Kabbalah Shabbat service, you've sung Lechadodi. It's all about welcoming the Shabbat bride, the Shabbos bride, the Shabbat bride, who is God's feminine form. This idea appears for the first time in the Sefer Bahir, right? And again, the language here is full of courtly language. We think this text is being written sometime in the early Middle Ages. Although there are people like Ronit who actually says that it may be who says that it may be written in Babylon. It's really hard for me to tell. Frankly, those folks are such brilliant scholars that I'm just going to defer to their ingenuity. What's also important about the descriptions of the Shekhinah in the Sefer Bahir is that she's almost always described in these really weird terms as an exile, that she came from the land of light, or that she's a princess from a faraway land. And scholars, at least of the earlier generation, and I think even some scholars now, and maybe even me, detect that in Gnostic literature, we can talk maybe a little bit more about Gnostic literature in the Q&A afterwards. There's an idea in Gnostic literature, this is a form of heterodox religion that existed back in the ancient classical world, where there's the incarnation of Sophia, of wisdom, and she makes a mistake. And she creates this hideous ruler god who creates our physical world, and our physical world is a trap, right? But she's the incarnation of light and brilliance and wisdom, right? And she's always described as being from another world, right? And some people think, right, so especially in earlier generations of scholarship, maybe even some folks now, think that the Sefer Bahir may continue forth a tradition or drag into the Middle Ages some Gnostic ideas. Let me talk more about those later if folks are interested in those Gnostic ideas. But there seems to be some kind of quasi-Gnostic character to the Shekhinah as she appears in the Sefer Bahir. Last couple things I'll say about the Sefer Bahir as we wrap up tonight is, one, the Sefer Bahir describes divine power as a kind of tree, or as a kind of fullness. Now, that tree language is going to be obviously very important, because if you've ever studied Kabbalah, the one thing you'll know is that the Sephirot are often arrayed in what's called the Eitz Chaim, the tree of life, and that tree language, right? God is a kind of divine tree, also appears in Sefer Bahir, and it describes God as having roots and limbs and buds and flowers and leaves and things. There's kind of a fullness to God, which also seems to maybe have its origins in very ancient Gnostic schools of thought. Also, and this will be important as we get later on into Kabbalah proper, is that for the Sefer Bahir, evil seems to have a life of its own. Now, in traditional Judaism and in traditional Christianity, evil is thought of as a privation, right? Augustine, I was giving an example from the Christian tradition, right? Augustine says that evil isn't a thing in itself, right? Evil is a lack of something. It's a lack of God's grace. In the same way that heat is a thing, but cold isn't. Darkness is not a thing, light is. Darkness is just a term we use for the absence of light. Cold is just the term we use for the absence of heat. Evil is just a term we use for the absence of God. Well, ancient Gnostics believed that evil was very real. It had its own existence. And there are sections in the Sefer Bahir that say, yeah, evil existed on its own. It was out there all along. God kind of tamed it, but not quite. And what we'll see when we get into Proto-Kabbalah next time is that evil is going to be one of the overwhelmingly interesting things on the part of the Kabbalists. Where did evil come from? Because, as you might imagine, Jews living in Europe in the 13th century are going to deal with a lot of evil. And they're going to be very interested in where evil comes from. And the image that the traditional Kabbalists will use is the very image you've seen here on the left. That evil is the sparks thrown off the anvil as God created the world. Right? Just as when you create a knife, you have to pound the steel. As you pound the steel, it throws off dross. Well, when God made the world, it threw off dross. And that dross, for the early Kabbalists, is evil. And it's always been here. It's always been here. And that image of the blacksmith hammering at the anvil will be an image we'll see repeatedly when we get into Kabbalah. Well, folks, we are there. We have now crossed the threshold from the Merkabah Hechalot world. We are now into the world of what I call the Proto-Kabbalah. Now, what I want to just reinforce as we wrap up for the night is that Kabbalah was not born all at once. As you can see, these ideas are developing. We have the Sephirot from the Sefer Yetzirah. We have the emanation sequence from the unique cherub circle. We have it synthesized by the Sefer Bahir. We're going to see that later texts further synthesize ideas from the Sefer Bahir. Kabbalah is a development. It's a development. So it's really important to understand that when people talk about the Kabbalah, they're not quite right. What we should talk about is Kabbalistic development and then schools of Kabbalah. Right? Now we'll see, we'll get into this later on as we get into Kabbalah, we'll see this a lot more clearly. Well, finally, I just want to point to some additional reading. I know that folks love to do, folks like to get into this stuff, and I know that literature on the Kabbalah can be a mire, right? It can either be really, really technically sophisticated, and you have to learn to read 15 languages to figure this stuff out, or it can be like a lot of hooey stuff that people just make up out of their mind. But these texts are all really solid. I mentioned earlier, right, that Zahi Weiss, I think, has written, for me, one of the best arguments for the early history and development of the Kabbalah. So if you really want to get into the weeds of how Kabbalah, about Sefer Yetzirah, rather, how Sefer Yetzirah developed, I think Zahi Weiss has a really great argument, in my opinion. The Peter Heyman text is the standard edition now, vertical edition of the Kabbalah. You're going to ILL that one because it costs like $800. So you're not going to get it from a university library, but it is just standard analysis of of the Sefer Yetzirah. Ari and Kaplan is the standard one you get on Amazon. It's okay. He analyzes the Sefer Yetzirah from a Lurianic Kabbalistic perspective, which isn't bad or anything, but I think it distorts the text in a way that I find to be confusing, especially people who've never encountered the text before. In the standard religious version of the Sefer Yetzirah, the best religious version, if you want to read a religious version with a bunch of commentaries, is the Sefer Yetzirah HaShalem, that's published by Rabbi Rothschild. You can get that. I can give folks a link if you want to buy that, but you'll need to be able to read Hebrew and stuff for that one. It's only in Hebrew, so if you want a copy of that one, I can send you a link to it if you like. And for Sefer Bahir, Joseph Don has a really great book on both the early Kabbalah and the Unique Cherub Circle. That Unique Cherub Circle book also is an ILL. It's very expensive. And we'll get to the books of contemplation here next week. And also, Ari Kaplan has a nice version of the Sefer over here. That, again, comes with the same caveat, right? He's a Lurianic Kabbalist, and he brings a specific Lurianic interpretation to the text that, again, it can be confusing. I'm not opposed to Kabbalists doing Kabbalah. I mean, Kabbalists should do Kabbalah. That's their bag. But I think that often when beginner people pick it up, it's like, oh, this is what it means. I'm like, not really. It's not quite that. It's more complicated than that. So again, I don't want to fault a Kabbalist for being a Kabbalist, but it's not academic, right? It's not an academic text. But it is easily accessible and widely available online. Well, folks, next week we turn to the early Kabbalah. We're going to be looking at some developments in southern France and Spain. We're going to be looking at how the earliest strata of Kabbalah developed, and then after that we turn to the most monumental text in all of Jewish mystical history, and that's going to be the Sefer Zohar, right? The Book of Illumination. My child is named Zohar. If you want to get an idea about how important this book is to me and mine, I got a kid named Zohar. So I take it pretty seriously, and so we'll get to the Sefer Zohar after the time after next. But next time we'll be dealing with philosophical, mystical developments in the earliest stages of Kabbalah in Europe, in the very early stages of Kabbalah at all. So we'll turn to the early Proto-Kabbalah next time. Welcome back, and thank you for joining me as I explore the garden that is Jewish mysticism. In Austin, Texas, for a brand new episode of Get Tony. Get it from Tony. It's Who's ready for the best fucking night of their lives? And indeed,
ladies and gentlemen.
And this is the biggest prank of all time.
Castillo, Raul Vallejo, Carlos Sosa, Tres Leches, Michael Gonzalez, Nachos Belgrano. We have the great Dave Scheer joining us on guitar tonight. Unbelievable local musician, the great John B's on the keys, and believe it or not, that's the real deal, D Madness, ladies and gentlemen. That is not Drewski in blacker face. That is actual D Madness. This episode of the #1 live podcast in the world is brought to you by Blue Chew Prize Picks and Zippix delicious nicotine toothpicks. Who's a smoker in here? Any smokers? Anybody smoke? There you go. Have one. Here, have one of those. Nibble on one of those during the episode, and all your nicotine worries go away. And zip more. Smoke less with Zippix. Fuck yeah. We just got in. We're fresh off of Los Angeles live last night. The roast of Kevin Hart was something else, huh? It's the first time I've been called a Nazi multiple times in just a few hours. I guess that's what LA writers' rooms, all these a lot of mentally ill liberals out there that somehow with all these fucking blacks and Jews and Mexicans around me, I guess I'm a fucking Nazi somehow. I guess the guy that pulls names out of a bucket, giving everybody an opportunity, is a Nazi. Isn't that something? I was called that by a bunch of people that have never written anything in their lives, that literally have just been reading cue cards and teleprompters every project they've ever done, with the inability to improvise whatsoever, no opportunity to have their own thought. They just read what the writers wrote for them without any originality whatsoever. And the writers I used to work with, well, there's a few great writers in that writer's room, and the rest of them are just living in a bubble of mental illness, and it's very exciting. But, I mean, the most, you know what I mean? I got called a Nazi, gay, a racist over and over again. I'm none of those three things, a little fun fact. But they are they are fat, ugly, black, Jewish. Everything I said was real about them, just a reminder. So I woke up today, and even though every human that I've seen told me that it was unbelievable, there's news articles, because the news isn't real, and nothing is real, that say that I got lit up by Chelsea Handler, which is very, very funny, because that's not what happened at all. You can't believe anything you see or read on the news anymore. You have to actually watch the thing for yourself. She was a bit of a cunt, I'll tell you that. She just kept coming at me over. She said I took the Saudi Arabia money. She was like wrong about things. The writers just didn't do her any justice. But then the teleprompter, a fun fact, the teleprompter only went down during my set, and it gave me a lot of opportunity to remind Chelsea Handler what she looks like and where her life is, because she had it coming. You know, everybody wants to go up early in those things, and they put a lot of the people that they know will do good at the end, which is fucking bullshit, because some people turn off the television before that happens. And so what they don't realize, though, because they want to go up early when the crowd's all fresh, is that I'm sitting there watching what they're doing. So when Chelsea kept coming at me, I'm gonna fuck this bitch up. Anyway, it was fun. We're back home. Shout out to the Roastmaster General Jeff Ross, our Kill Tony family that was there. The great Big J Okerson crushed, and of course the powerful Shane Gillis dominated hosting the show. We love Shane. We love Shane. But we're here tonight. We are here for the #1 live podcast in the world. Here's a little bit more from the amazing sponsors that made it all possible. Hello there. This podcast is sponsored by Saley. Whether you're hitting the road for a comedy tour, just trying to escape the country for a vacation, getting off a long flight and realizing your phone doesn't have internet is an absolute nightmare, that's where Saley comes in. Redman.
Tony, I love Saley. It's the best. I use it all the time when we leave Austin. Saley is the new travel buddy of mine. It's a super simple eSIM app that keeps you connected to over 200 places around the world.
If you don't know what an eSIM is, it's just a digital SIM card. That means no more swapping out those tiny plastic cards, no more waiting in line at the airport, and no more getting scammed by weird kiosks outside the train station. You download the Saley app, pick an affordable data plan, and you're instantly connected. Say goodbye to those insane, expensive roaming fees and get an exclusive 15% discount on Saley data plans. Use code KILLTONY at checkout. Download Saley app or go to saley.com/KILLTONY right now. That's SAILY.com/KILLTONY. Hello there. This episode is brought to you by Zippix Nicotine Toothpicks. Zippix gives you a clean, convenient, and satisfying way to curb nicotine cravings without smoke or vapor. Red Band?
Honey, I love Zippix. It's the best nicotine product out there. Here's why people are switching to Zippix. It's made with simple ingredients and plant-derived nicotine. They come in 2 milligram or 3 milligram options for a smooth, controlled release. And there's 6 great flavors to choose from.
I absolutely love these things on airplanes, anywhere you can sneak one. It is really amazing. Plus, it helps satisfy the hand-to-mouth habit, which you know I love. You can use it anywhere, even where smoking and vaping are banned. It's a discreet, better-tasting alternative to traditional nicotine products. Zippix also offers caffeine and B12 toothpicks if you're cutting back on nicotine or just want an added boost. So, take control of your nicotine routine with Zippix. Get 10% off your first order with code KILLTONY at ZippixToothpicks.com. These things are unbelievable. I mean it. Try them. Get 10% off your first order with code KILLTONY at ZippixToothpicks.com. You guys ready to start tonight's fucking show or what? We're going to have so much fun. These are 2 of the best comedians around, 2 of my favorite guests in the show's history. You guys know them. You love them. Make some fucking noise for the great Chris O'Connor and Matt Edgar, everybody. Here we go. Chris O'Connor, Matt Edgar, the great Matt Edgar. The local motherfucking homies. Chris O'Connor is a star. He's up at the podcast Stuff Island. He's touring the country. Tickets available at chrisoconnor.com. Raleigh, North Carolina, Detroit, Michigan. How about a hand for my good friend Matt Edgar, everybody? We started together this week 19 years ago. A little fun fact about me and Matt. May 2007 at the Comedy Store. 2 little pups. I was 22. He was 21. Now I'm 41. You're 40, right?
Yeah.
Crazy. That's nuts.
Yeah. And one of us made it.
Thank God I won that coin flip. Chris, how you doing, buddy? We were together making a lot of eye contact. You were right in the middle front of the roast of Kevin Hart. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I was with you last night.
Yeah.
Fucking hammer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot you were there. Yes. We were really fucked up.
I was talking to Seth Green about Star Wars like 10 hours ago.
Seth Green was there. You are reminding me of a lot right now. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, that was so hurt. Huh? Yeah, no, I know. It was a very odd plane ride home today. A lot of scary dreams.
And if you guys get blacked out last night, you just...
Look on that. Look, I made this face like still hurting. I know. I mean, it was so rough. It was so rough. I woke up looking like Chelsea Handler. That's how rough my night was. I just had like that Botox swollen, inflamed face that just, seems like you used to be successful 15 years ago and you're not anymore. You know what I mean? I just felt like that. The worst feeling. Thank God. And I just took a 2-hour nap and I was back to being one of the best in the world. And shoot. No, I'm kidding. Shut up. You guys know how the show works. Over 200 innocent souls signed up for this. Some of them could be the next great comedian of planet Earth. All of our regulars and golden ticket winners were found out of this bucket. Could happen. Could be a completely insane person, a lazy writer that didn't really give any effort. Anything could happen. They get 60 seconds on the interrupt. The end of the time is up and hear the sound of a kitten. And then they have to wrap it up, then or else they bring out the angry West Hollywood bear, which rudely interrupts them. I conduct an interview with them. The entire thing is live and improvised. Anything can happen. You guys ready to start tonight's fucking show? I'm gonna let this Thai lady boy pick the first name out of the bucket. Hell yeah. I'm not a lady boy, I know. Yeah. All right. And while that happens, I'm going to bring up one of the great regulars of the show's history, here to do a brand new minute. He does it every fucking week. Not easy to do. It takes balls, courage. This guy's got it all. And here he goes again. Here with a brand new minute to get us started while we wrangle that first bucket full. Make some noise for the great former Dark Storm of Atlanta, now the Dark Storm of Austin, Texas. This is a new set from Dedrick Flynn, ladies and gentlemen.
I love Latino people. I grew up part Mexican in high school. My best friend was Mexican, so I was like raised, like that's why I learned Spanish from. Like I don't really know like chore Spanish, or I know like certain actions, like when his mama say pinche, you duck, right? You know what I'm saying? That means duck in Spanish, and if you hear pinche cabron, that means duck and run in Spanish. And then I continue that love with through my life with my jobs and I work. Now I speak a different kind of Spanish. It's called steel-toe non-slip Spanish. It's like you gotta work at like construction sites, and they speak a different kind of Spanish because it's mostly just sound effects. Like, are you Spanish? You Mexican? Correct me if I'm wrong. In Spanish means socket wrench. Right? That means socket wrench. So they would be like, Moreno, go get it. And then, because that means you got to drill it out. That's drill in Spanish and means like, hey, I need you to pay attention to me. This is good. Am I wrong about that, guys? Am I correct about that? Okay, because I know if you do it wrong, you don't want to disappoint them because you come show them your work and it's bad, they be like, oh, it's no good. It's no good. That's my time. Thank y'all. I love y'all.
Doing a minute 30 seconds. Toughest job in the business, and you never just do the bare minimums. You did an extra 30 seconds, a whole extra half a set of new material there. That is all true. That checks out.
That's
the horn players and Michael Gonzalez agree with you. They're still laughing. They're laughing. The hungover Mexican guy is laughing. This is all true. Did you say you were on a work site? Where'd you come up with all that?
I used to build car washes, and so like my showroom. I did.
Why?
I worked there too. Why is that silly?
Chris is laughing very hard at the fact that you build car washes.
Snoop Dogg worked at a car wash. Shaq built a car wash.
If you build a car wash, Mexicans will come. It's like Field of Dreams for them.
They're good at it.
So what does it take to build a car wash? Was that you just have worked for a company that only built car washes?
Well, they built their own, and I was a GM there too, so I had to like go through the whole building process, like putting in the PVC pipes, bolting all the frames, and just like one of those.
You liked it because there was a lot of hose.
Yeah, I love. There was tons of like the car wash was, bro.
Car wash.
Man, girl, any girl that go through a breakup, she's bringing her car through the car wash to get this nigga out of her car. Like, she's got to vacuum up all of his cigarettes.
Talking about a water hose. So did anyone not get my hose joke? It still seems like I haven't gotten what I deserve for the... There's a lot of hose.
It's a lot of hose.
Because it's a car wash. Just okay, thank you. That's what I needed. I needed a hand clap from this beautiful, one of the hottest Down syndrome women I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm a little vicious, sorry. I'm still in roast mode. It's been a crazy weekend.
Yeah, you did great. Yeah. Why do they keep calling you racist? I don't know. That don't make no sense. Because if you are, you're bad at it.
I noticed.
You can't keep changing all these. You changed my life. I don't.
I noticed there was a theme, and they very rarely talked about how wildly successful my show is because it's on a different streaming company. So I think they weren't allowed to make fun of Kill Tony, even though we work with them for at least multiple episodes a year. That I don't think they like mentioning. YouTube. I don't think Netflix and YouTube get along very well. But we always play nice. I never mention YouTube on the I never say we have hundreds of episodes available on YouTube on the Netflix episodes. And it's funny, they did this weird Kevin Hart show where they find the next comedic talent. They released that on Mondays at 8. It almost seems like they were trying to start some shit there. But, you know, I play nice until I don't. And here we are.
You fucking shit. You just said his body, you stand over the body. We were like, enough's enough. Tony, Jesus Christ, she's dead. She's dead right there.
I know, I'm playing nice. I'm trying to do it. Gotta take her to the Mexican car. Hooks her down a little bit, you know what I mean? See what's underneath there. It's like when it'd be like when the Joker shows up in like the military police outfit that one time. He's got like no makeup on, but you still see the scars. Anyway, Dedrick, how did you like Los Angeles? Tell us about your week.
Well, it was fun, but them niggas stole my phone.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it was my first time in LA, so you gotta, I mean, it was like, welcome. You know what I'm saying? Like that happens. They took my phone, so I've been phoneless, trying to figure out life. I forgot how much you need your phone.
Yeah.
So you don't. I don't know how y'all niggas did comedy before, like not having a phone. How did y'all get around? Did y'all have like an actual map? Were y'all pirate?
How old do you think we are?
Man, we're friends.
We're
But pretty old.
What do you do? What do you do on the toilet with no phone? Have you noticed?
I got the laptop. I got the laptop right on my knees. Fucking talking shit on record.
The old crap top.
Screen shaking on the jacking off.
Jack up on the toilet? You white boys crazy, sir.
Oh yeah, dude. The old double release.
Judgment.
That's called a number 3.
That's a good one.
Well,
That's a blow job on the toilet. Oh, okay, I'm glad we got to the bottom of it. God, that was fucking plaguing my mind.
so fun, Dedrick. Way to get tonight's show started.
I love y'all. Thank y'all so
And
much.
we're off. It has begun. That's how it's done. And now we go to the bucket where absolutely anything can happen. Sometimes it's the next genius of the future. Sometimes it is just not. Let's see what happens here. Your first bucket pull of the night goes by the name of Ivy Miller. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, I'm Ivy. I am from California. Yeah, hold on. I'm from a place called San Diego. And in San Diego, everyone is blonde. And everyone is in workout gear. And all the children sound like they're named after energy drinks. Slater! Rocket! And Jake. The less you care in San Diego, the cooler you are. No one has a job. Only perfect abs. We have our own language in San Diego as well. And if you ever get lost and you need to communicate with the local, you just pretend you're coming out of surgery. It just kind of sounds like... Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Thank you.
All right, Ivy Miller.
I'm about to have you on the secret show.
Unbelievable right now. Unbelievable.
You want to learn more about San Diego?
Yeah. Ivy, I could tell you're from San Diego because, Beach, you didn't get one laugh during your set. But I did there. How long have you been doing stand-up, Ivy?
About 3 months now.
Perfect. I was glad after you said 3. I was happy to hear months. I also would have accepted weeks and days as a possible answer. Months is good. Thank God for that. What made you want to start stand-up 3 months ago?
It terrifies me. I just wanted to scare myself and face my feet.
I love it. That's fun. What have you been doing your whole life? What else have you been doing?
I lifeguard, and That's
Red man, come on. Be a professional here. You're a lifeguard? Is that what you've been doing most of your life?
yes.
How many lives have you saved?
Quite a bit. It gets quite busy.
Okay, if you had to guess what the ethnicity is, what the percentage of ethnicities is of the people that you have to save realistically.
Latino.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I thought
Sink
that,
like rocks.
oh my goodness gracious. I
Well,
did
no,
not
they-
know that.
No, they just swim with all their clothes
Just
on.
go, oh my goodness, they do, and it weighs them down.
It's not them, it's the clothes.
Unbelievable. Is this true, you guys? Oh, well, let's check in with our. Oh, no. They're disagreeing over here. These guys are, as you can tell, they're all aerodynamically built to swim properly. Aerodynamic, if you will. Incredible. So you've saved a lot of lives. Any close calls with some peppercorn in the sand line, hard as a rock and alive?
Yes.
Perfect. Very good. Red Band's about to be faking and drowning in San Diego next week. Oh no, I sank to the bottom. He does swim with all of his clothes on, by the way, so no doubt about it. Red Band hasn't taken off a shirt outside of his apartment in years. I love it. Ivy, what's your love life like? You got a man?
I'm recently single.
Ooh, how long was that? You are out of control tonight. I told you to start jerking off before the shows. You're a little wild animal. Have a Zippix toothpick. Relax. Sip more. Smoke less. Okay. How long was the relationship that you were in?
6 months.
6 months. Okay. And why are you recently single? How did it end? Why didn't it work out? What do you think happened?
There was a mismatch in the drive department,
Drive department. Sex drive?
like motivation,
Oh.
just in general, and I think
I pulled a Red Band on that one. Even I was like, drive, sex drive.
distance.
Right. He didn't live in San Diego?
No, he lived in Europe.
Oh, well, that'll do it. Yeah. Yeah. What part of Europe?
Portugal.
Oh, okay.
Europe, San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And where'd you meet this guy? San Diego?
Portugal.
You were in Portugal?
Yeah.
How long were you in Portugal for?
I live in Portugal half the year
Why do you live in Portugal half the year?
for the surf and lifeguarding.
Oh, okay. So how long have you been surfing your whole life?
Yes.
Wow. So you're just a real beach bum.
Yes.
That's your thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. What's Portugal has good waves?
Yes. Yeah, in the summer, and then it gets massive. So I just like the summer.
What are the Portuguese people like?
They're lovely.
What's the stereotype about them? Strangely, I'm a master of the racist arts, and I don't know how I would make fun of a Portuguese. Do you?
Sounds like they're lazy.
Stubborn.
Are they?
Really stubborn. Just I appreciate it because things stay the same, but they like things the way they are.
Do you speak Portuguese?
No, I'm working on it.
Wow. So you just go there and you're just like this American bimbo. It's just out.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. What else? What do you do for fun other than water sports?
Well, I like to snowboard. I surf and snowboard a lot.
Okay.
And I'm really into journaling and like self-work.
I hate your life. I hate your life so much. It's the worst life I've ever heard.
Yeah, it doesn't
Sucks. You want to get into comedy? Your life's great. Yeah. The fuck you do? You're living an endless summer. Surfing and lifeguarding. Stay away.
It's true. I've never heard of an energy drink that sounds like Slater or Jake. Did you like mess that up? Was Jake planned?
Well, I thought the Slater. I don't know.
You don't know.
Well, the Slater, it just sounds like they've all got X's and Z's and never. It just like keeps going, but there's like so many Jakes.
There's in your world, I think there's a lot of Jakes. I can picture. What's up? My name's Jake. What's your name? Fun times. Here's a little joke bug. You got the first bucket pull. You are the first bucket pull of the night.
Thank you.
Keep doing it if you love it. I mean, you got a lot of work to do, Ivy.
Thank you.
You're about as funny as a fucking plastic cup. But chase your dreams. I love you. Red band. You can't say things like that. How about a hand for the lovely Heidi, ladies and gentlemen, the best in the world. HeidiRegina.com. Hey, y'all, this podcast is sponsored by Shopify. Starting something new isn't just hard, it's terrifying. So much work goes into this thing that you're not entirely sure it'll work out. And it can be hard to make that leap of faith. Trust me. I know. When I started this podcast, I wasn't even sure what I was doing. What if no one listens? What if I make a fool out of myself? What if no one buys into the show? Why would anybody buy tickets to a show that's free on YouTube? Now, I know that I was right. Believing in myself and launching my podcast, no matter what the mainstream media says or haters and trolls. It also helps when you have a partner like Shopify on your side to help Redman.
Tony, I love Shopify. It's the best business tool out there. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or stroll.
And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping and processing returns and beyond. It's time to turn those what-ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/GilTony. Go to shopify.com/GilTony. That's shopify.com/GilTony. That's shopify.com/GilTony. This podcast is sponsored by Tacovas. Anywhere worth going is worth going in good boots. Find your perfect pair with Tacovas. Tacovas crafts quality Western boots for everyone from generational ranchers and lifelong cowboys to someone just coming to visit Austin and see an episode of Kill Tony wants a pair of real Texas boots. Tacovas boots are handcrafted with over 200 meticulous steps for broken and comfort right out of the box, and their in-store experience is unparalleled with expert staff and complimentary beverages and customizations. Tacovas has boots for the season, weddings, concerts, outdoor festival, work events, whatever, from premium apparel to elevated leather goods like wallets, belts, and more. Everything at Tacovas is crafted with the same attention to detail and timeless style. And with over 50 Tacovas stores coast to coast, there's bound to be a store near you. Red Band.
I love my Tacovas. I strut all around Austin wearing them. They're seriously the most comfortable boots I've ever worn.
That is incredible, Red Band. Right now, get 10% off at tacovas.com/KillTony when you sign up for email and text. That's 10% off at TECOVAS.com/KillTony. Tacovas.com/KillTony. See site for details. Tacovas, point your toes west. Okay, we're going to keep it moving along. Your second bucket pull of the night on a show in which clearly anything can happen and no one is too underqualified to sign up. Make some noise for BK, everyone. Here we go.
Thank you. So, being Middle Eastern, I realized my childhood was very different from my white friends. So, for instance, during summer breaks, my white friends' parents would send them to summer camp. My parents would send me to refugee camp. They learned new things like horseback riding. I learned how to ride a village donkey. I was so mad the camel was gone, though. My friends would brag about like how many friends they made. They were like, "Oh, I got all these pen pals. I'm gonna write letters." I was so sad I didn't meet a single friend, but I did meet like 85 cousins. That was just on my mom's side, though. I still have to write checks to them every summer. My last friend, though, he was so excited. He met the girl of his dreams, and he had his first kiss. I also met a girl. She was my first cousin.
Go ahead, finish it. Go ahead.
But the girl of my mother's dreams.
Okay, yeah, there was nothing. BK, what is going on? You're about as funny as a San Diego lifeguard. Holy shit, dude. How long you been doing stand-up?
I started in 2008.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. 18 years? You've been doing this long enough that your career could buy a pack of cigarettes?
Yeah. Well, I had to take a break.
Please tell me it was a 17-year break.
Yeah, it was. I had a stroke.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I can kind of see that. What happened? How long ago was the stroke?
Yeah, I lost my speech and language. And, you know, it was about like a year for recovery. And then
Do you know what caused the stroke? What was going on? What were you doing?
just hanging out, talking to my friend, getting ready for a show. And then God was like, you know what? You ain't doing that show today.
Wow. God saved that audience. Holy shit. Look at God works in mysterious ways, people. One man's stroke is another man's joke. You know what I mean? Incredible. So how long ago did the stroke happen?
2010.
Right. Okay. And all of a sudden, what? Half your face went numb, or your hand, or what?
No, like my arm went numb. I just, you know, what? And then 30 seconds later, it came back to life. But I was like trying to say like holy crap, whatever was happening. I was just.
Oh, fuck. You turned into Red Band. Amazing. Absolutely incredible.
Do you smoke? Did you smoke?
No, I should have though.
Yeah. You might as well have.
But
When did you start speaking again?
it took about like a month for like enunciation.
Yeah, the opening was way longer.
No, it really sucked. But like, I remember the doctor, Nigerian doctor, he's like, Mr. Khalid, did you do any drugs? I'm like, no, because my mom was there, you know. So even if I did, I would be like, no.
Where did this happen? Why did you have a Nigerian doctor? Did you not have insurance? What's going on?
No, I grew up in the ghetto, Patterson, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And your doctor was Nigerian. What was that like?
He was an ER doctor, so, but then I got the white doctor after, like to do the heart surgery. The Jewish, they escalated it. Yeah. I don't know.
Amazing. Okay, so recovery's been good. What's your life like now? What do you do for work?
So I was just working IT in a big fintech company. Got laid off Wednesday.
You got laid off? How long were you with them?
8 years.
8 years, and randomly laid off out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Wow. So what are you planning on doing? It's so interesting. You're at a monumental moment in your life.
Trying to get back into comedy. Yeah.
Okay. What else? What's a second option here?
Yeah. Second option.
Trying to figure out what else we could possibly do.
Maybe music. I'll get back into music.
What did you do musically?
I used to be a frontman for a band, write original songs and stuff.
Okay. Can we hear an example of an original song? You tell the band a ballpark of what to do. These guys.
I play guitar though.
These guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to hear you sing. We have a great guitarist here that can do whatever you want. Is it a D into a G? D-A-B. Oh, he's having another stroke, everybody.
D-B-A-G, like standard punk music, yeah. It's called Better Off Dead.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, the Strokes, everybody.
It starts at D.
The Strokes.
I used to ride my skateboard down your street every day, but you know.
Come on, lose yourself in it, damn it.
Used to ride my skateboard down your street every day. Now when I see you, you just turn the other way. We used to call me on the phone every single night. But now when I see you, you just end up in a fight. Shit you said stuck in my head, 'cause you're never meant a better off dead.
Wow. All right. I agree. I do think you're better off dead. BK, this is amazing, dude. After seeing you do comedy, it's very clear, and after seeing you do music, that you should be getting another job in IT. This is absolutely amazing.
Are you guys hiring?
No.
All right. Fuck.
You have a good sense of humor, though. You're rolling with everything good. You love doing comedy.
I love it.
And how long have you lived in Austin?
8 years.
Wow, 8 years. Amazing. What do you love about Austin?
The scene, the music scene.
You have a girlfriend?
I got a wife, 12 years.
Oh, nice. So she stuck by you through the stroke and everything?
No,
But that was before.
that was before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. What does she do?
She's a housewife. Mama.
Okay. All right. What did she say when you got laid off? What's going on at the house right now? Is it are tensions high?
No, she's actually in Egypt right now. She left.
When did she leave? Thursday?
Yeah, Friday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? Was that a planned trip?
It was planned.
Okay. What is she doing in Egypt?
Her family's from Gaza.
Oh, perfect.
She's saying,
What could possibly go wrong?
So, yeah, try to sneak back in.
It's your mom. They say you're bombing here, she's bombing.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, life's rough with BK when she's like, I head off to Gaza for a little bit.
She's like, good luck. No, she was very supportive, though. She's like, I've been with you 12 years, and I've never been insecure about your hustle. You just get back on your feet.
It's great. Someone by your side. Genocide. Gaza right now, everybody. Genocide happening. Now that I'm not in LA anymore, I can talk about it. Yay! All right, BK. You're getting on your feet. The stroke is finally wearing off. There's a medium-sized joke.
Thank you so much.
We're just gonna keep it moving along. There he goes, BK, everybody. There he goes. Get out of here. All right, on to the next one we go. Make some noise for your next comedian, ladies and gentlemen. It's Martin Malloy, everybody. Martin Malloy.
Hi, I'm Marty. The optimist sees the glasses half full. I'm paranoid schizophrenic, so I see two glasses and one of them wants to kill me. Chicks dig mentally ill guys. That's what my cats tell me. I went to Paris. I didn't have to buy a plane ticket. I just took mushrooms and watched Ratatouille. I like this crowd. You remind me of my ex-girlfriend. She also liked the last guy better. Someone told me the 90s called and they want their hairstyle back. I said, really? The 90s called?
Fucking go. Do a 1-hour special. Let's go.
That joke costs a $20 haircut, $5 tip, and over 3,900 American lives. That's it on my blog.
Holy shit. What the fuck is this? Oh my god. Jesus Christ almighty, look at this guy. I had no idea Shane Gillis had a brother. This is amazing. Holy shit, you're a monster. I love your jokes. I love your stage presence. I love everything about you.
Yeah, Steve,
Talk into that microphone, you wild beast.
the stage presence I don't do on purpose. I really do have schizophrenia. That's the way I have to be. It's my nervous habits.
I love it. The Chris O'Connor.
Dude, I love it when a head and shoulders can only point in one direction. It's fucking amazing. Just right down the barrel comedy. It fucking rules.
I love it, man. I love your schizophrenia. All of your personalities were funnier than the other bucket pools we've had here tonight.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Martin, how long have you been doing stand-up?
Since November 2004, but I couldn't do it for 6 years because I had a large prostate and had to pee every 3 minutes. So I couldn't work, so I had to live in a group home. They wouldn't give me a catheter.
Is that a good enough answer, Tony? No excuses.
God damn it, look at this fucking guy. This is incredible. Martin, you are a freak. You're a natural. I love it. You're so funny. Holy shit. Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 60 years old, turned 60 on March 25th.
You turned it on Mother's Day?
On March 25th, I turned 60.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that happened. You're 60.
You might know me, but my stage name was Schizo Bill. I was on Opie and Anthony. I don't know if you remember that episode.
Wow.
I do? Okay.
Yeah, wow. Starstruck. Martin,
When I was working at McDonald's, the guy that dressed as Ronald McDonald came in, and he was a fan of Opie and Anthony, and he knew me.
you are adorable. What else have you been doing your whole life? You worked at McDonald's for how long?
For about 2 years on 3 different times.
Okay.
So I would leave and come back.
Amazing. Why would you leave and come back?
Try and get better jobs, but I never did.
Son of a bitch.
Right now I drive Lyft and make half my income in stand-up comedy.
Amazing.
I sell wristbands and stuff like that for merchandise, and I sell wristbands that say "Made in USA" by illegals. You can get them at Salty Not Sweet gift shop in Lakewood, Ohio.
Wow. Shout out Lakewood, Ohio. You are...
Hey, can I drop my Instagram or website?
You can do anything you want right now, Martin. I'm giving you the Timmy No Breaks treatment. This is just your show right now, Martin.
My Instagram is Cleveland Comedian, and my website is veryfunnycomedy.com, and my website leads to my Instagram.
Okay, absolutely. I only have about 230 more questions for you, Martin, so we could have saved those plugs for the end, but I like that they're in the middle because it's a little bit off, just like you. It's very fitting on the branding side. So you're 60 years old. You're originally from Cleveland, Ohio?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I grew up in the same town that Logan and Jake Paul did. I used to watch them wrestle when I
They were wrestlers in high school.
I was an alumni wrestler too.
Amazing.
I used to go back and watch the
Lakeway?
What?
At Lakeway?
Oh, Westlake.
Westlake. That's right. And you're a fan of the Cleveland Indians, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the Cavaliers?
Yeah, and sort of the Browns.
Right, I know. It's rough out there for a Browns fan.
It's rough.
I'm pretty sure the head coach feels the same way.
I noticed they got Deshaun Watson as first in the depth chart of the QB right now.
Okay, what does that mean to you?
That means he's probably going to start this season.
Yeah.
You think it should be Shador?
Maybe.
Who do you think it should be?
Sure. I mean,
We're talking to two different people. Schizo thing checks out.
So, Martin, you still live in Cleveland, or did you move here?
I live in Cleveland. I
Nice.
traveled here just to get on this show, and luckily I got paid.
When did you get here? Today or yesterday?
I got here yesterday.
Okay. Amazing. Incredible. When do you leave? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Wow. So you came here just for this?
Yeah, if there's any comedians out there, if there's a mic I can hit later on this night, let me know.
You're something else. I love your style, Mark.
When you were on Opie and Anthony, I remember you also had Ron and Fez. I remember Bill Burr used to roast you and everything.
Yeah, Bill Burr and Jim Norton tried to get me to kill myself for like an hour.
Wow.
I didn't do it, obviously. But they drove me so crazy, I was considering calling the mental hospital. I've had shock treatments. I do jokes about them.
Wow. Mark, I love you. What's your love life like?
Non-existent. There's this girl, Julia Mary. She's a comedian. I'm working on hooking up with her, but it's not working out.
Have you tried? Have you talked with her before?
Yes, I'm talking to her, and she wants me to buy a house, and then she said she'll go out with me.
She said if you buy her a house.
If I buy a house, and I guess she wants to move in. I don't know.
Sounds like a hell of a deal, Martin.
Yeah, I'm looking on the Habitat for Humanity. I was at Last Comic Standing too. Like, let me tell you that story.
Yeah.
I responded to an ad that saying you had to wear a costume, and so I wore a straitjacket, and I told some jokes, and they really weren't laughing. And then I told my final joke. I said, my illness robs me of the ability to feel emotion or compassion like normal people. That's why I'm a Republican. And the judges laughed like crazy, but they edited out those judges. They put in Norm from chairs saying we have to pass. And I was never in the same room with Norm from chairs.
Wow.
Nothing you're not used to.
That is amazing. Isn't it crazy how those big productions, those big television productions that aren't real and aren't raw and are
You're real, and I'm going to use Talkspace.
I love that. That's right.
I'm going to use Talkspace, and if you invite me back here, I'll come and tell everyone how Talkspace went.
Can't pass that up.
That's amazing. Martin, absolutely incredible. What else about your life would we find interesting? 60 years.
I run the frog jump every year. My nephew wants
What's the frog jump?
It's a Valley City frog jump. You put a frog in the middle of a spread out parachute, and you jump it 3 times, and they measure the distance from the center.
Wow.
And I had the second longest jump one year.
Wow.
Wait, are you jumping or is the frog?
The frog is jumping. And this is a sad story. The first time
Let me guess. You once, when the first time you did it, you accidentally squozed the frog to death? Yeah. You really did?
Yeah, they hold on to it tight, and I killed it. I used to do a joke about it, but they got too depressed about it.
I'm gonna die.
I did the same thing. My first time I was ever on TV, I was 10 years old, and they were filming me. And I was going like this next to the frog, so it would jump as a frog jumping contest. And right when it got to me, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm on TV!" And I hit the frog. I broke
So
the leg.
much funnier when he does it. Jesus Christ.
Man, it's so funny to be like, that happened to me.
Yeah. That's how we find out Red Man is officially retarded. I'll tell you what, Martin Malloy, there's an open mic happening on the other side of the building in the other room right now. I'm going to send you with the producers backstage. give you a short set there. I think it's about 3 minutes.
That's fine.
If you had to guess how much.
One more thing to drop.
Okay, drop it. Drop it.
The joke I did about the cats, chicks dig me, but that's what my cats tell me. Chicks dig mentally ill guys. That's what my cats tell me. Those are on sale, salty, not sweet in Lakewood, Ohio, too.
Martin, you are an unbelievable human being, and at 60 years old, with all of your experience doing it since 2004, I find you so intriguing, and it shocks me all the time on this show when people come here with this or that, and whether it's a condition or a this, whatever it may be, for some reason in this crazy world, I think this is an art form where maybe being a little bit off or sad or up or down, I think it's kind of built for people that are a little fucked up.
Yeah. I'm fine now because I'm on medication.
Anyway, what I'm getting at is I get a lot of shit for helping people that are a little bit wacky. Every single thing about you is absolutely hilarious. You're an undeniable force. And with that said, you are the newest golden ticket winner here on Boy, everybody. Thank you, buddy. Martin Malloy. Congratulations, buddy. Wave to these people. Take a bow. They love you. Amazing.
From the Golden Arches.
That's right. To the golden ticket. Right now he's in the back squeezing it so hard that it broke.
He oddly didn't seem to give a fuck.
Yeah.
See that?
By the way, if there's a comedian out there that wants to talk shit about how many special needs people I help out, I'd love to let you do a minute and then him do a minute, and we'll see who's funnier. Instead of talking shit online, come on, come challenge one of these guys. I love it. Funny throughout the entire thing. Sometimes I'm just asking questions, waiting for them to not be funny, and every time I'm like, fuck, son of a bitch. But that guy's fucking hilarious.
By the way, you have to watch them try to kill Bill Burr and Jim Norton. It's amazing. It's on YouTube.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Go watch it now. Turn off this episode and go watch an old episode of Opie and Anthony, everybody. It's a real hoot if you were alive in the 70s. Anyway. All right, let's keep it going.
I loved when you were like, a lot of people give me shit about helping out the fucked up people.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm fine. Go to Salty and Sweet. I want a trip. I feel like we should all go to Salty and Sweet. Just show up there.
Oh man, shock the world, do the frog jump. See which one of our frogs wins. Sounds like a lot of fun, actually. Hello there. This episode of Kill Tony is brought to you by Odoo. First off, it's pronounced Odoo. If you run a business, you probably know how annoying it is juggling a bunch of different software subscriptions just to keep things organized. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for customer management, another for your website. It gets expensive and messy fast. Odoo simplifies all that. Red Band?
Odoo, I love Odoo, Tony. It's a truly incredible business tool. It's an all-in-one business management platform with fully integrated apps for CRM, accounting, sales, inventory, HR, marketing, project management, website building, e-commerce, and more.
Whoa! What makes Odoo different is that everything works together in one system. So when you make a sale, your inventory updates automatically. Your accounting syncs. Customer info stays organized. Your whole business runs more efficiently without jumping between platforms. And the best part is you can start with just the apps you need and add more as your business grows. Whether you're running a small business, online store, production company, restaurant, podcast, or a growing brand, Odoo helps keep everything in one place is. Check it out and try it for free at odoo.com/killtony. That's odoo.com/killtony. This podcast is sponsored by ZipRecruiter. You know, recently I hired somebody who was not only qualified, but also genuinely interested in my open role, and that really influenced my decision to hire them. They were eager to learn more about the job. I knew they wanted to work for me. They seemed like a good fit, and their excitement about the role made them stand out. If you're hiring, you want a candidate who's passionate about your role, but you can't get that insight from a resume unless you post your job on ZipRecruiter. Right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/killtony.
Oh man, Tony, I've been loving ZipRecruiter for so long. It's the best hiring site around. ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology finds qualified candidates quickly, and ZipRecruiter has a new feature that shows you the most interested qualified candidates first, so you meet the right people faster. No wonder ZipRecruiter is the #1 rated hiring site based on G2.
I mean, seriously, it's just the most important thing that if you're going to hire somebody, you want somebody that wants the job that you're hiring for. On ZipRecruiter, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/killtony. That's ZipRecruiter.com/killtony. ZipRecruiter, meet your match on ZipRecruiter. All right, we're doing it. This episode is bumping. This episode brought to you by Blue Chew, Prize Picks, and Zippix. So, fun, zip more, smoke less. Your next bucket poll, ladies and gentlemen, goes by the name of George S. Seeley. George S. Seeley.
Hello, Comedy Mothership, one day after Mother's Day. Daddy's home. It is I, ugly Ryan Gosling. Your last comic was a dream come true. Here comes the nightmare. And I just got back from the retard strangling competition. And boy, is my neck sore. This guy got second place in the retard strangling competition. Come true, here comes the nightmare. And I just got back from the retard strangling competition. And blue here. Hello, Comedy Mothership, one day after Mother's Day. Daddy's home. It is I, ugly Ryan Gosling. Your last comic was a dream come true. Here comes the nightmare. And I just got back from the retard strangling competition. And boy, is my neck sore. Look how thin his neck is. My name is George, and if I look weird or creepy, it's because I am. I'm an Arab man, even though I look like a Mexican woman. Every cartel member has a picture of me in their wallet that says, "Do it for her." I want the bear.
Okay, you got it, George.
Give me the bear.
George, how are you? Okay.
Roar.
There you go. All right, Red Band. I can't believe you played into that, but okay. Hi, George. How are you?
Hello, Anthony. How are you tonight?
I'm great. Relax and take a breath for a second. Okay. How long you been doing stand-up, George?
10 years.
Where at?
Canada.
What part of Canada?
Montreal.
Wow. Amazing. And what type of Arab are you?
Lebanese.
Okay.
Yeah, Habib.
I love it. What do you do for work, George?
I'm in between bushes right now, Anthony.
What is that?
I live in a bush and I drink the breast milk of lost pets.
Somehow you're crazier than the last guy. That's amazing.
Please, no loud noises. I'm autistic.
I think he's one of the voice.
Shut up.
Black guy.
Last place, retard strangling competition.
All right, George. Let people talk a little bit. You're being a little wild over here.
I'll allow it.
Okay.
Thanks.
So, George, you've been doing it 10 years. Tell us more about your life. What else is going on? What have you done this entire time? How old are you?
I'm 29.
Okay, no, you're not. You're definitely not, George.
I'm 50 in forehead years.
Okay, what are you in real life?
What?
Okay.
I'm a stand-up comedian.
How old are you?
29.
No, you're not.
They took my ID, Anthony.
Are you
I
really?
can prove it.
Are you really 29?
I'm 29. I started stand-up when I was 19. This is the result.
Wow, that's incredible. Holy shit. Amazing.
That's right.
You're born in Montreal?
Ottawa, Ontario, baby.
Right. Absolutely amazing. And let's check in with Chris O'Connor here.
It's just hard to go from real weird to fake weird.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I mean?
I'm with you.
We had the genuine article of him.
Oh, yeah. The real deal.
Now he's inventing retard, strangling, crap. Sucks.
It is true. Martin Malloy is a very tough follow. It is a very tough follow.
Stinks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That is true.
First place.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm retarded or getting strangled? I don't know. Oh, really?
We're all...
This guy knows.
George, any other fun facts about your life that we might find interesting?
Well, I got my dick sucked at a glory hole, and I used to have sex with prostitutes.
Okay. All right.
See, I would have never guessed that.
I'm an open book.
Are you?
Yeah.
What is it, a coloring book? George, what made you stop hooking up with prostitutes?
I have a girlfriend now, Anthony.
Where'd you meet this girl at?
Montreal at a comedy show.
She came up to you after the show and said what?
I love you.
Wow, straight to love. Amazing, George. Here's a medium-sized joke book, buddy. Oh, very good. All right. There he goes. George S. Lee, everybody.
Very good, funny.
Keep it moving along. There goes George.
That other guy's a dick.
We have a golden ticket winner, right? Is he back there? Colt. There you go. All right, sweet. We have a golden ticket winner that you know that has done many 1-minute sets. We found him here in the great state of Texas many years ago. And now he's a full-time comedian. Make some noise. This is the return of the great Enrique Chacon, everybody. Enrique is back.
I had a bad dick day the other day. You ever disappoint your girl so much, you have a bad dick day that you enroll into college? I had a bad dick that I had to clean the whole house, bro. My dick was so bad, man, I had to call up a friend and they told me to go to the gas station and get some boner pills. So I'm at the Circle K gas station buying dick pills, and the first thing I realized is that everybody there knows that my dick doesn't work. So I'm choosing the boner pills and there's no ingredients. Now I gotta choose the boner pill based on the animal and the explosion behind it. I found one that said the vanilla gorilla, bro. I'm like, if I take this shit, am I gonna start fucking like Brock Lesnar and break all my IKEA furniture? I found one that said the black mamba. I'm like, if I take this shit, am I gonna start fucking like Kobe Bryant? Unconsensually? I found a third one. It was the strongest looking animal. It said the black rhino. I took that shit. I thought I was going to take my girl to a safari. But nah, man, I ended up going to the urgent care. Come on, hard, bro. It wouldn't stop beating. Sure, there's bad dick out there, but have you ever had dick that financially disables your family? Because that's way worse. Anyways, but that's been my minute. Thank y'all.
Enrique Chacon with a whole minute on dick pills.
Yes, sir. How you doing, Tony?
Fantastic. Is that true? Have you been eating dick pills?
Well, sometimes, Tony, you just don't feel a little too confident. You know, I don't have a Blues Chew sponsor or whatever the fuck you got here.
Yeah, you should be doing Blue Chew. Those gas station boner pills are unregulated and absolutely, they could be anything. You don't know what you're getting in there. A lot of them are made in the bathtubs of immigrants.
Whoa, Tony, chill. Talk shit about immigrants, Tony.
I mean,
Hey, man, look, I felt like I was dying and I was scared, but my dick was hard, bro. You know, I only needed like 10 minutes to just like satisfy my girl, and get on with my life and drop out of college again. That's all
shit.
I needed.
You should never get boner pills at the same place you get lottery tickets.
you should try Blue Chew. And they have the new Blue Chew Gold, which actually activates chemicals in your brain and also the physical aspect. So you actually enjoy it more, and your partner will enjoy it more. Use the promo code KILLTONY. We love Blue Chew.
Well, fucking hook it up, Tony. Hook it the fuck up, man. Help my relationship out, dude. I want to marry this girl one day, bro. I gotta fucking put out.
So what's going on? Is she complaining a little bit like Enrique? And what do I
know? You come a little too fast, bro. What can you do but like make peanut butter sandwiches afterwards,
How fast are we talking? One pump, you just throw it in there and just nut right away?
I mean, bro, come on, at least give me like 8 pumps, and like a few loud grunts, bro. But it was something like that, Fuck you, dude. Shut the fuck up. This is some personal shit that I'm telling you, bro.
Is that what's going on? 8 pumps?
You know what? Bro, but I was building a gold fence, and eat your legs a lot out living the country, man. What the fuck is wrong with y'all, bro? Y'all don't build your own fucking fences, dude? I had a fucking huge ass log, bro. I'm lifting these logs, bro. My legs are weak, and whenever I do work out my legs, bro, don't judge me, man. Whenever I do work out my legs, then I just feel like